So I think I went over time. Thank you very much. His Divine Grace, Sripad Aindra Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Bhagavad Prabhu. Next, we'd like to invite Keshia Prabhu. Prabhu, if you could please come speak something. And then, thank you very much, Sarvabhauma Prabhu, also for coming. We'll ask you to speak next, please.
So, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I wish I had been able to come earlier, but I was otherwise disposed. So, Aindra, it's great to see everyone here, because no doubt Aindra deserves this. My very dear friend and god brother, just a few stories. I first saw Aindra, I think it was in 1981, in Washington Square Park. It's in New York, right? And it was Rath Yatra, and Aindra was parked there. There's a little park at the end. The Rath cart comes down, and Aindra had this black van, as I remember it, and it was a big delivery van. And it had two large doors on the side, so you could park it by the pavement, and you could open the doors. And inside, Aindra apparently had constructed a platform about maybe 18 inches above the floor of the van. And he was sitting in there with a harmonium and one other devotee. And I was looking, and I was thinking, that looks far out, because when you opened the door, it was a black van as I remember it. There were two columns here, and on the inside, on the two columns here. And I found out later that he had come to Vrindavan earlier and taken casts of the columns. You know, you may have seen in Radharaman or Radhasham Sundar. So then he made casts, and then he put them on the door. So when you opened out, there was golden columns. And Aindra would do kirtan inside there. So the other time I saw him was, when did he come exactly to Vrindavan? 1986. Yes. So I was one of the, I may have been one of the first persons to talk to him. I was sitting at the entrance to the Gurukul. I was standing inside. That was where the Brahmachari ashram was, upstairs. And Aindra came in, and he had one of those trolleys that you put a suitcase on, but he had two monitor speakers. You know what monitor speakers are? They're for the people who are leading the kirtan or leading the band, so that they can hear themselves. There's the PA, and then there's the monitor. And they're usually angled 45 degrees. So he had two of those, and some kind of shoulder bag. And he came up to me and said, "Prabhu." "Prabhu." "Yes, hello, how are you doing?" He said, where'd you register, where'd you get the C form? You know, he was a very intense person. He used all that passion in Prabhupada's service. So I said, well, I suppose you go to Govinda's, the hotel, the guest house rather. So you go there and they'll give you the C form, because that we didn't have anything else then. The Keshia land wasn't available or anything. So then he went off. Okay, Prabhu. So of course I used to see him all the time, because I'd always go upstairs to see how he was doing and to have a chat and hear what he had to say about the world and ISKCON. And it was always nice to see him with the deities there. The deities he had taken from the back of a Sankirtan van, he told me. The Sankirtan van, the back end of it, like a coach, was just sitting there, and the deities weren't being looked after. So, if I remember correctly, he just went there, picked them up, and took them to his room. Gauni tie, very, they were about 3 foot, 3'6", including the arms. So he told me about that. And then he started with a few shalagrams, and then everyone started to give shalagrams. I think he ended up with hundreds, right? 1,000. Yeah, so when I used to go and visit him, usually in the evening he'd be putting oil on each of the shalagrams. And we'd talk, and it was very nice. And he was very dedicated to the Sankirtan. And so a couple of months ago I was downtown outside Gokulananda temple, and 2 devotees came up to me, and they were very respectful. Oh, you're a Prabhupada disciple? Well, I'm trying to be. So they talked to me for a little while, and then they said, one of them said, Prabhu, what's the best thing you have learned? What's the most important thing? So I thought for a moment. I said, just be sincere. Everything will follow sincerity. And so I thought, and they said, oh, that's very nice. And they went their way and I went my way. And I was thinking about it afterward. What is the most important thing? Yes, and Lord Caitanya said, Lord Nityananda Bhaktivinoda has written, Lord Caitanya has opened a marketplace for the holy name. You're all devotees, you know. And how do you buy the holy name? You don't pay with money or labor or anything, but lolam, you have to desire. And then lobha, that means greed. Once you get a little taste, then you should become greedy. You should become more, if it's actually a taste. So sincerity is there. Lolam, sincerity, very similar. So I remember one time I went to see Devavraha Baba. You all heard of Devavraha Baba? He used to live on that platform on the other side of the Jamuna. It was about 8 foot high, it was 8 foot long, and about 4 foot wide, and it was full of Jamuna sand. And he used to always stay on top of that. And there was a border around it about 18 inches. So one time, I went to see him, and with Purna Chand. This was maybe in the late 70s. Purna Chand was Pujari, late 70s, early 80s. And Purna Chand said, oh, there's this famous Baba. Apparently he lived to 250 years or something. His samadhi is there. Down from Keshia, about 1 kilometer towards Mathura, there's a samadhi there on the other side. So I said to that Baba too, and that was before I met these devotees a couple of months ago, of course. So he was sitting on the column there, And he had a servant. And he popped his head up over the barrier. And he was very blissful and, So I thought, Purnachand, I didn't know much Hindi then. And ask him what is the greatest knowledge. Good thing to ask a sadhu, right? When you see a sadhu, you should ask for blessings or knowledge. Both are the same. So I said, Purnachand, ask him what is the greatest knowledge. And he said, always think of Bhagavan, he said. So manmana bhavamad bhakto. Krishna, before he says some sarvadharma prajaja, he says, I'm going to tell you the greatest secret. Manmana bhavamad bhakto. So we used to discuss this with Aindra and tell stories, yes, that we want to become absorbed in Krishna. There's that verse in the 4th chapter, right? Namam kamani limpante name karma phaleshu spriya. That Krishna is explaining that I perform work in this material world, but I'm not bound by the action or the reaction, the fruit. And one who understands this quality of mine, he also becomes liberated by karma and karma phal, the fruit of labor. So that is done, and then Krishna says, and those that understand this, they become also liberated and absorbed in me, and by this way they attain transcendental love. So that is what Prabhupada came to give. That is what Prabhupada is giving now, because great acharyas, they're never, they maybe not manifest, but they are still attentive in every way to their disciples and their grand disciples, and indeed the Sankirtan movement of Lord Caitanya. So we used to discuss these things with Aindra. Ram Roy used to secretly record the conversations. I said, Ram Roy, you can't do that. We'll get into trouble. Because Aindra was quite pointed in some areas of discussion, if you know what I mean. So after I said to those two devotees, yes, you just become sincere about Krishna consciousness, and then Krishna will liberate you. Meditate on Krishna always. But then later, by grace of Krishna, I thought, yes, sincerity is there, but one should know what to be sincere about. Right? And also, one should know how to attain that which we are sincere about. That means we should know prayojan and we should know abhideya. So, of course, they were devotees, so sincerity is the main thing. If you've learnt a little sambandha gyan, relationships between Krishna and his energies and so on. So, I was thinking, yes, that is the goal, Krishna Prem. But what is the method? This is the point. So, with that in mind, I brought my sloka book. Of course, you all know this, but we should always remind ourselves, because we're coming from conditioned life, at least myself. So we are have the tendency, even within spiritual life, to act for ourselves. I think, oh, this will be good for me, this will be good for me. Now that's all right, it will be good for you. But here, Lord Rishabdev, famous verse, 552, he says, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Aho Vimuktes, Tamo Dwaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam, Mahantas Te Sama Shita Prasanta, Vimanya Vaha Surida Sadavo Ye. One can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. Only. You see that? Only this method. There is one sloka, Prabhupada would quote it all the time, where Parvati, I think it's from the Adi Puran, Prabhupada quotes Parvati. Parvati once asked Lord Shiva, her husband, what is the greatest worship? Aradhanam Savesham, Vishnu Aradhanam Param. So Lord Shiva answered, of all worships, the worship of Vishnu is the best. But then he says, but higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of Lord Vishnu's devotees. And then also in this 5th canto, Teachings of Rishabdev, it's described on Bhumandala there's earth people, then above that there is the Bhutas, and above that there's the Gandharvas, so on and so forth, the Asuras, and then the Devatas, and then of all the Devatas, then there is Lord Shiva, he's the highest, but up higher than Lord Shiva in terms of status, let's say, is Lord Brahma, because he is the origin, at least, through which Lord Shiva manifests. So, but then Krishna, Lord Rishabdev said, but higher than Lord Brahma is Vishnu. But higher than Lord Vishnu are the Brahmanas. This is the humility of Krishna. The Vaishnava Brahmanas, those that are realized in Krishna, Krishna considers them higher than himself. Of course, that is a real status. They are realized in Krishna consciousness. What's that verse? Janma kama tame divyam evam yo viditat pataha. That if you realize the transcendental nature of Krishna, you never take birth in this world. You go to the spiritual world. So, of course, the devotees never think they're supreme. But this is Krishna's bhava. This is his love. I consider my devotees higher than me. So then we can understand what Lord Shiva is saying, that above the worship of Vishnu is the worship of the Vaishnavas. That's what he tells Parvati. So that is the only way to attain liberation. Now, but also in the 2nd canto, or is it 3rd, I think so, there is one verse, Muktir hitavan yata rupam swarupena avashtati. What is mukti? Mukti is not just liberation from the material energy, but it is to be absorbed in the transcendental energy by the growth, the development of one's relationship with Krishna, one's spiritual form, the Swarup. And that is the real mukti. if we just renounce the material world and through austerities become liberated, we may enter a Brahman state. But not having bhakti, we may fall down after some time. So this is the liberation that is meant whenever you read it in the Bhagavatam. Swarupena avashtatihi. To be situated in one's swarup. So in a letter to Rupanuga, 1969, April, Prabhupada explains, there's a question from Rupanuga, what about our swarup? What is the swarup? So this is an important point of tattva that is not properly understood widely. Some people, some upper sampradayas say the swarup is assumed when we go to the spiritual world. But actually, according to all Vaishnavacharyas, the swarup is swarup, your own form. It is inbuilt. In the beginning of the Ishopanishad, Krishna says, Om Purnam Madapanam Inam Purnat Purnat Udashate, that the absolute truth is perfect and complete. And because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as the Jiva Shakti, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. So those that say, oh, the Swarup is assumed according to your meditation, they're incorrect. They're saying, and some years ago I defeated one fool on this, he said, oh, the soul is just chit. It has just Sat and Chit, as if Sat and Chit are different entities. It's just Sat and maybe there's Chit, but there's no Anand. So that means the soul is, he doesn't understand what the soul is. Sat and Chit, Anand and Vigraha, the Swarup, they are integrated in the soul. Just in the same way that in fire, light and heat are integrated into the fire. They're not separate entities. Where there's light, there's heat, and where there's heat, there's some light from the fire. So the Swarup is inbuilt to the soul. The soul is perfect and complete. So in that letter to Rupanuga, Prabhupada explains that as you perform bhakti and sadhana and rag bhakti, then the Swarup will grow from the soul, just like a tree will grow from the seed. The seed has the format of the plant, and every plant is individual. Every person is individual, every soul is individual, and everyone has their individual relationship inbuilt to the soul. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Vigraha means form and personality, because we are eternal, we're conscious, and we're searching for Anand, or we're assessing if this is Anand. And what is assessing? That is Vigraha, our form, our personality. So this is a very important point, and I want you all to remember this, because here in Vrindavan there are many upper sampradayas, and they'll say, oh, the Guru gives Swarup. And this is what Prabhupada was criticizing when he said they have concocted this Siddha Pranali, where the so-called Guru is giving the Swarup. And then by meditation the Swarup will be assumed. And then these crazy people, they're not crazy, they're devotees but misled. They think that, oh, according to my meditation, then I'd better not read Bhagavad Gita, because I might end up meditating on the battlefield and go to the battlefield. Oh, I'd better not read Ram Leela, or else I may go to Ram Leela and I really want to go. So, but the relationship is inbuilt, and we know the story. Anupam and Jiva Goswami, his Swarup was in Ram, service to Ram. So The Swarup is inbuilt. It is your nature. It is not assumed. That is the material contamination. They're thinking this material body is assumed by the soul, and so therefore in the spiritual world, the spiritual body is assumed. And if you want the details on that, you can read the fourth adhya, the fourth part, the Mukti Kanda of the Vedanta Sutra, the fourth pada, fourth part, verses 1 to 3. And there is a discussion on this very point. Is the Swarup inbuilt or is it assumed? And according to the commentary developed by Baladevi Vibhushan, it is very clear that the Swarup is not assumed, but it is inbuilt. So, how to liberate that Swarup, right? We don't want to just chant rounds, go to Mangalarti, Paritar rounds, work hard, and then go to sleep, and then get bad stomach, or something like this. We have to become active within. We have to develop within. There's that sloka in the Gita, that the devotee, his attention is within, he's active within, his aim within, his happiness is within. So, Krishna is explaining there, a devotee, he is antirmuk. The materialist is trying to get happiness externally in the material body and the material world, but the devotee is getting his satisfaction param within. So that satisfaction is the development of your relationship with Krishna. Once you see that blossoming, then you won't want the external enjoyment, because you'll have the paramdrisva, you'll have the higher taste. So here, this sloka here is telling the key point. You must have seva bhav, not to yourself. The material world means I want to serve myself. But you must have seva bhav by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. That is just like in the Gita, 4th chapter, we read all the time, Tadvidi pratipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshyanti te jnanam jnanastatvadashina. That you should ask questions, inquire to the great devotees, the ones that have jnananas tatvadashana, who have seen the absolute truth, but then you should perform sevaya. That means you should put their instructions into practice. That is seva. It doesn't necessarily mean digging a hole in the garden. It means building your life according to the instructions you receive from the Mahatma. Because the Mahatma wants you. There's a story about Prabhupada in Hawaii, that Prabhupada would go every morning for his morning walk, and there was one devotee who used to work in the garden. And on the 4th day, that devotee, by chance, wasn't digging up the weeds. He was reading Prabhupada's books. And Prabhupada stopped. And he said, "Very good." And then he went. So, of course, Prabhupada appreciating digging up the weeds. But when he saw people reading his books, Prabhupada was always saying, "I have not made these books for selling only. They're for reading, they're for my disciples." And then we are approaching, because yes, you're approaching a spiritual master, and that doesn't necessarily mean one that's in front of you. You can inquire. You can read Jiva Goswami's books. You can read Rupa Goswami's books. You can read Prabhupada's books. You can read Bhakti Vinod books, Bhakti Siddhanta's books. But it should be done under guidance, of course, what book is appropriate. And you can gain knowledge in this way and know how to perfect your devotional service. So, that's the first line. These personalities are impersonalist or devotees. It doesn't mean Mayavadi, it means Brahmavadi when it says impersonalist. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or wants to associate with the personality of Godhead, one should render service to the Mahatmas. 1 minute. For those who are not interested in such activities, who associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to hell is wide open. The Mahatmas are equipoised. They do not see any difference between one living entity and another. They are very peaceful and always fully engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of anger, and they work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way. Such people are known as Mahatmas. So the description is there. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtatyam. They should know the conclusion of the Vedas, and they should be Daivim Prakritim Ashrita. They should be transcendental. So, the point is, why do we all love Aindra? Why is Aindra such an important point? It was, why did he come to Vrindavan? He came to Vrindavan to revive Prabhupada's request that there be 24-hour kirtan in Vrindavan. It is an extension of Tompkins Square Park. Prabhupada started the Sankirtan movement by chanting. And so, yes, we learn Siddhanta, but our central practice by which we attract people is by giving them the sound of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So Aindra perfectly understood that. He came to Vrindavan to serve Srila Prabhupada in this particular function. So all you devotees are doing wonderful things. You are also serving the great Mahatma Srila Prabhupada by your maintaining the 24-hour kirtan. And you should all understand that, as Prabhupada said to Rupanuga, that through bhakti this seed starts to grow, and the Swarup is the development of this seed. So always remember that. Try and grow. When you wake up in the morning, try and think, today I will grow my Bhakti Lata Beej. One mustard seed, at least. That's a good ambition. The journey of 1,000 meters starts with one step, Confucius say. So, but the Krishna is within the heart. He's not in Vaikuntha, he's where people are chanting his glories. So always remember that when you're chanting, you're doing this in Seva Bhav to Srila Prabhupada, and Krishna's in your heart. Now there's one other idea. Forgive me, 30 seconds. That I've been listening to the Kirtan for, 30, 40, 50 years. So the thing is, what we need in the Kirtan, in the temple, is a permanent Kirtan Mandap. When you sit on that little round bit, there's 4 columns. From the outer 2, we should build a Kirtan Mandap, back about 10 foot, level with the tree. And then if it has a domed roof, then the sound of the kirtan and the kartals and the madanga will be accentuated, and the people replying to the lead singer will be accentuated, and the kirtan will sound wonderful. Just like in Radha Raman, you have a kirtan mandap and it concentrates the sound. The problem in our kirtan is you hear the lead singer, but you can't hear anything else. But if there is a kirtan mandap coming back about 10 feet from the outer 2 columns, raised 6 inches with a nice domed roof and columns at the side, and the ladies can sit one side opposite Radhasham Sundar, the men the other side, the kirtan, and then you can have a preamp to balance the microphone and the sound and amplifiers, and we should really endeavor. I mean, it's all right to spend money on AC, very nice, everyone likes it. But we should understand that the money must go to the Sankirtan. We must emphasize, we're the Sankirtan movement. Our starting point is Tompkins Square Park. Even before that, Lord Caitanya. So, I put that idea out. And then everyone will be, and then there'll be more room for the darshan. Because instead of the kirtan coming halfway out, everyone will sit in the permanent kirtan mandap. So I want to put that idea, if there's any big managers, that they should consider that. So we have to finish now. I'm sorry I went on a minute too long. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Everybody knows there's no time in the spiritual world. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Keshia Prabhu. We'd like to call Sarvabhauma Prabhu. We'd also like to welcome Dina Bandapu. Maybe you can speak next. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. दूसरी कुर्सी ले लो वाली. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Sripad Aindra Prabhu ki Vancha kalpatrubhyasya kripa sindhuvya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namah. Aindra Prabhu was not from this world. He lived in this world, but he was not from this world. This is something. And sometime in 92 or 3, I visited Vrindavan first time. At that time, Pundrik Vidyanidhi, Pundrik, he was taking care of the mail-out department here. He visited Pakistan, so I was already friend with him. So when I came here, he took me to Aindra Prabhu's room. And at that time, Mahanidhi Maharaj was sitting also there. It was evening time, first time. In Vrindavan, I just went to Aindra Prabhu's room with Pundrik, and Mahanidhi Maharaj was sitting there. And on that first day, when I first time met Aindra Prabhu, and he gave me some prasad, which he cooked himself. And then last time I told you, in that first meeting, he gave me one book, Govinda Leela Amrit. He said, you came to Vrindavan, then you must know what is in this book. He told me that. Well, after 2-3 years back, and by 95 I came back again in Vrindavan and I'm engaged in service here. And then for at least 10 years we were here in service together. Well, if I say it's not true exaggeration, he never took the Babaji initiation, but he was Babaji here. His whole lifestyle was as the Babajis used to live. No stitch cloth, he never wore a stitch cloth. And he was only eating what he was cooking himself and offering to his deities. And one of the most old devotee here, Vibhu Caitanya, he was famously was called Charanamrit Dadu in the last days. When he was sick in one of the rooms, Aindra Prabhu was doing kirtan, and he told me that after many years I had tested my stamina. I have done 8-hour kirtans. I am chanting for 8 hours now. So he said, this is only I was doing when I was in States. 8-hour continuous kirtan. So he said, this I have tested my stamina, so I can do 8-hour kirtan continuously. So they were doing kirtan continuously around Vibhu Caitanya Prabhu till he departed. One day, Aindra Prabhu said, Sarvabhauma, yes, Prabhu. Somebody gave me donation, a check. I don't have a bank account. He told me, I don't have a bank account. He told me, can you put in your bank account and withdraw money and give me? It was just 7,000 rupees, not much. It was maybe 20 years back. So he never had a bank account. That's what I'm saying. The person who was so simple, he never had a bank account. And then he wanted to take a nationality, Indian nationality, because he should not go out from here. He said, Sarvabhauma, the paper can only move if you have laddu on the top of paper. I said, what do you mean, Prabhu? He said, laddu mean money. You put a money on the top of paper, then people walk. So he said, this is only the thing. So he decided to stay in Vrindavan. And for that he applied for nationality and he wanted to get it. But the papers was too slow in progress. And then the last Sam, this Aindra Prabhu's remembrance last year, somebody told something. I don't think somebody has again retold that, but that the one thing is still sticking in my mind. And maybe most of you might be remembering. Gurukulis, when they visited Mayapur, there was a debate between the Gurukulis. We have Mayapur, Sakhi with Radha Madhav, you have only 2 Sakhis. Then they said, we have this and we have this and we have this. So Mayapur was going pile more and more. Ultimately, our Gurukulis were simple. They said, we have Aindra Prabhu. And then they said, well, we don't have anything like that. So this is only the one thing that we have Aindra Prabhu, and they won the whole debate. So ultimately those who are chanting holy name, the most important, and all over the world when we travel and see, Aindra Prabhu is an idol for most of the devotees in all over the world because of his attachment to the holy name. His deep attachment to the holy name, and some of our senior leaders are saying, well, we never expected so many people have so much attachment to Aindra Prabhu and his mission of this 24-hour kirtan bar. He never went out from here, maybe one day at the most, never he wanted to get out from here. He just wanted to stay here, be fixed every day, Mangal Arati, every day kirtan. It was like, And then I think this is the day Prabhu departed from here. I was traveling from Dwarka to Somnath. In the middle, on the way, somebody called me. I was with a group from the Middle East going to Dwarka and all this yatra. He said, Aindra, Prabhu left. Now I am just relating something that I was going from Dwarka to Somnath. So Dwarka to Somnath, Krishna took all the Yaduvanshis ultimately to depart from there. So I was just thinking that it was his, I mean, he was definitely, I'm saying he's not up from this world when I'm saying, he's not from this world. He only came for certain period of time, and particularly as Keshia Prabhu was saying, to establish Harinam Sankirtan here 24 hours. That is the main motto or mission of his own whole life. And when he established this, and still it is going on, so it means that vibration which he has left with a say love and intention that is continuing. So this will continue in front of Krishna Balaram. That is actually glory of Srila Aindra Prabhu. So on this day, we should just remember and remind that holy name is only the hope for the people in Kali Yuga to perfect their life, whatever to get their swarup, whenever they get, but this is only the process, and the only process. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Thank you very much, Aindra Prabhu ki. Oh, Krishna Balaram.
Hare Krishna. Sarvabhauma Prabhu, thank you so much. Now we'd like to invite Dina Bandapu Prabhu. Please come speak.
Sripad Sankirtan Chandra Namanandi Srila Aindra Prabhu ki. Kirtan Chandra. Just look at that beautiful face. This big round face like the moon. Just absorbed in the holy name. He was Kirtan Chandra. We miss so much seeing that Aindra just pumping away his harmonium, his head bobbing like that. He would get the kirtan really jumping, and if you got off beat, oh my God, what stair. That was one of those Muchakunda stairs that would turn you into ashes. We miss that so much. And Namanandi. He was so completely absorbed in the holy name. So, and we just saw that nice video. Aindra was explaining that this is the main thing, this chanting of the holy name. Just like the very last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Nama Sankirtana Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamuduka Samanas Tam Namami Harim Param. This is the last sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam. 17,999 slokas after, it just declares Nama Sankirtan.
Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is even more emphatic. There's one verse that says, Navavida Bhakti, Srestha Nama Sankirtana. Of all the Navavida Bhakti, this Nam Sankirtana is Srest, perfect. Even more emphatic, there's one that says, Navavida Bhakti, Purna Nama Hoite Haya. Namavida, because Kirtan is already there, but it says Nama Hoite Haya. In this Navavida Bhakti is only complete with Nam Sankirtan. Just like we see our dear Srila Prabhupada, he established everything with Nam Sankirtan. When we first came to India in 1974, we were a little disappointed, because for us, Artik means Kirtan. And we went to a Hindu temple, and bam, 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 bam. No Kirtan, just... Everything we do with Kirtan. Artik with Kirtan, everything, Before taking prasad, we have Kirtan. In fact, I remember when Prabhupada was there, after Bhagavatam class, he would always do 5 minutes, at least in Los Angeles, because I visited Los Angeles several times. And after Kirtan, he would do, after Bhagavatam class, he would have Kirtan. Even for wedding, we have Kirtan. I remember one time they invited Aindra to come. Of course, he was a little overboard. He put a big band around his eyes. And he went and had Kirtan. So everything, Kirtan is everything. Aindra Prabhu, he had this very deep realization. And out of his mercy, just to wake us up, he used to use this bombastic language that sort of frightened some people who couldn't understand, He said, to hell with your management, to hell with your big building. Not to hell with them, but just the whole point of all these big buildings and everything that we do, everything we do is just to facilitate chanting the holy name. It was just a way, if somebody's sleeping, you hold a book up in front of his face, here's a nice slokas from the Bhagavatam, here's a nice, but you have to, hey, Prabhu, wake up. So he would try to wake us up with his bombastic language. Probably came that people without those deep realizations that Aindra have tried to talk in the same way, But only Aindra could do that. To hell with your GBC, to hell with it. If it doesn't lead to the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. So he used this bombastic type of language to wake us up and make us understand the point that everything we're doing is for this Nam Sankirtan. And actually, I heard that when Aindra first came, I remember I came here in 84, so he and Kurmarupa, who just, a couple of months ago, it was his disappearance, they both came in 86. And he had some idea, because in New York, he had this traveling temple, most amazing thing, just go down, Fifth Avenue with this kirtan going on and this little temple in the back of this truck. So he had some idea like that to travel around, but somehow or other he decided that Prabhupada had told that we want to have 24-hour kirtan, and he established, somebody tried, but it was like, they were all paid kirtaniyas, Hari Rupee, Rupee, Hari, Hari dollar, Hari dollar. So he established his kirtan, and this is the life of our temple. This all the time there's kirtan going on, and everybody loves that about Krishna. I remember I was talking to some teenage Indian girls. What would a teenage Indian girl think about? But anyway, they said, we went to some other temple. It's all very nice, it's big, it's all marble, and there's beautiful dioramas and things. But we come here, and there's kirtan going on, and everybody's dancing, and people talk to us. They hear there's life. So Aindra infused life into this temple. He gave this temple his life, because this is the whole point of this whole big building. Why did we establish all this? Just to get people to chant the holy name of Krishna. And people come here, they always tell me that, I came to Vrindavan and I saw your temple, and first thing, it was clean. Because I remember when I first came to Vrindavan in '74, we go in some other temples and we see, there's cobwebs in the deity room and mice running across the altar, and it looked like if you went like that, the clothes would fall apart. Now Prabhupada has changed everything. By establishing this temple, Prabhupada changed the whole face of Vrindavan. I wanted to say, everybody turn off their little babies. They're crying. I keep hearing them crying. It's a very nasty distraction, so make your babies quiet, please. And then, actually, those beautiful deities that Aindra has, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, he got them. We had a Sankirtan bus that we made just with a temple in the back and then kitchen inside, and we had books, and we were doing life membership and preaching programs all over UP, MP, and Rajasthan. So we wanted to have some, because those days all the Sankirtan buses had these temples in the back. So somehow Pundarik got them made in Bankura, these very tall, beautiful deities, both made of solid neem tree. And they were in the back of our Sankirtan bus, and those deities went all over UP, MP, and Rajasthan. Then somehow or other, they dragged me out of my Sankirtan bus and stuck me here on the hot seat as the president, and gradually, like Keshia said, they were sort of neglected. So I don't know exactly how Aindra appropriated them. It was like he said, he just went and got them. I don't know. But anyway, now those deities that traveled all over UP and Rajasthan are there giving their merciful darshan to everyone. So was just, I remember also somehow we were flying in the air, so we didn't get the news right away. It wasn't until we finally reached London that we finally heard this terrible news, because it was so devastating that I remember somebody thought, I'm never going to go to Vrindavan again. But that's not what Aindra's purpose was. Not that after he leaves, now we don't go to Vrindavan. No, you have to come more. And we see that Aindra's up there bringing people to join. We don't have any room for the people who want to join the Sankirtan, 24-hour Kirtan. Aindra's there dragging people to come. And he inspired everybody, just like Sarvabhauma was saying, you go all over the world, people are listening to Aindra tapes and listening to Aindra's kirtans, imitating his kirtans. Nobody can imitate Aindra, but they try. And because somehow or other, it's very difficult in Kali Yuga, so we've done a lot of things to disappoint people, and especially the younger generation. But somehow the younger generation was inspired by Aindra. Everywhere you go, I don't know why they don't call them the Aindra Memorial 24-hour Kirtans, but people all over the world have started doing, 24-hour Kirtans, or sometimes for their 40th anniversary, 40-hour Kirtans, and so many things, all inspired just by Aindra sitting here in Vrindavan. He inspired the whole world. So this is our business, to chant. That's everything we're doing, is just so we'll sit down and chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So this was the very successful thing that Aindra did for everyone. He gave us this emphasis on chanting the holy names. So we're very happy to be here on this wonderful occasion, and we're very happy that somebody finally puts some real air conditioning. It used to be such a torture to sit here. Now it's a great pleasure to sit here and listen to all these things. Anyway, Sripad Namanande Kirtan Chandra Aindra Prabhu Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Dina Bandapu. I see we have several seniors have come. Thank you, Shruti Kirti Prabhu, Mukundada Prabhu. We'd like to call Shruti Kirti Prabhu next. And Nanda Gopa Prabhu, we would also like you to speak also. And if I can just humbly say, I don't want to restrict anybody, but if just we could be a little sensitive to time. We don't have unlimited time. I think we do still have several people that can speak nicely.
Hare Krishna. Yes. Aindra Prabhu ki jai. Thank you very much. Yes, Prabhupada was very sensitive to time, place, and circumstance. At the same time, we can remember way back in around the late 60s, 1970, even his editor of his books, Prabhupada said, even stop the editing to go out on the Sankirtan party. So Aindra Prabhu understood very well what was the very essence of what Prabhupada came to do. And I think in these times, in the current days, years, we're going to be seeing more and more the importance of just chanting Hare Krishna and giving the holy name to the public. Aindra Prabhu understood the essence very much. Kirtan was an offering to the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada, so many letters are there, conversations are there. And Prabhupada stated, it's not a performance. It's not some performance we're doing for the public. It's an offering to Krishna. Chanting Hare Krishna is for Krishna himself, to please the Supreme Lord. And he said, if you do that, Krishna is in everyone's heart. He understands the sincerity of every individual. So if you chant sincerely, purely, and as Sarvabhauma said, Dina Bandapu, they've pretty much wrapped everything up very nicely. Aindra Prabhu's mentality, how he felt, what he did. He sat down very simply. Keshia was talking about the Mandi. He didn't care. He'd sit down anywhere as long as he could chant before the deities. This was his heart and soul. And as we said, now we see all over the world so many devotees, so many followers, even the youth. We know the second generation, as we said. In our society, we struggled a great deal, and we still do. We're all here in the material world, and none of us are perfect. But the one thing that they really grabbed a hold of was kirtan. Many of them as young boys, and we can say young boys and girls, they were forced to chant japa. They were forced to go to Mangal Artik. And to this day, they have an aversion, even just to sit and chant japa. That's what they think about. They remember when they were 5, 6, 10 years old, having to do it. But all of them are attracted to kirtan, to sit down and chant Hare Krishna. So again, what Aindra Prabhu did was wonderful. One of the, Keshia was telling the story about Prabhupada in Hawaii. I'm very familiar with Hawaii. I'm still involved, so-called zonal supervisor or something like that in Hawaii. And as he did in other places, Prabhupada was, we can say, multi-dimensional. Everything. I say that so much, how Prabhupada would say this was most important. But then everything was most important. Prabhupada put everything on that level. Heard the story about the ant on the flower. He talked about worshiping the deity, the very form of the Lord. He said, but even the ant on the flower that's offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, that ant comes off the flower, kisses the lotus feet of the Lord. He said the absolute platform, no different than the pujari, no different than the worship. Of course, we know oneness and difference is there. I was just reading now how they said our original spiritual form, is that in human form? And Prabhupada said, yes, just like 2 arms, 2 legs, everything is there. I learned that very early as a young boy in the Catholic Church, made in the image and likeness of God. And Prabhupada said, yes. He said, but in the spiritual world, you can make your choices. Sometimes you want to be a fruit on the tree, you can do that. Then again, you can take your human form. There's no limit. Aindra Prabhu, we all know what he's doing. He was doing it already. He was doing it here for 25 years or so, what he was doing. He was so happy to sit and chant. In Hawaii, Prabhupada said he saw the boy reading Bhagavad Gita, very nice. But in the very next moment, he looked around. A dozen devotees are there. And there are leaves all over the ground. Prabhupada said, why aren't these leaves picked up? Everyone. In Hawaii, we lived in a neighborhood with Japanese. Hawaii is mostly 40% are Japanese. Another 30% are other Asian countries. And Caucasians, they're the minority in Hawaii. It's not like anywhere else in the United States. So everyone, they would be out manicuring every little piece of blade of grass on their lawn. And our temple didn't look like that. And Prabhupada said, why? Why is it so dirty around here? Temple president said to Prabhupada, there's no one to do it. We don't have enough devotees. Most of these dozens, they were all living outside. In the temple, just a few. And Prabhupada looked from the left and looked from the right and saw dozens of devotees. He said, no one to do it? Aindra Prabhu saw that. He came here. He knew what Prabhupada wanted. And he took that opportunity to do it. And he stuck with it right up until the very end. This is what Prabhupada admired in his disciples. He said, you become pujari for the deity, the rest of your life, that's what you do. And then when your life is over, you go back home, back to Godhead. That's devotee. That was Aindra Prabhu. He set the example for that one thing. Again, what did Prabhupada do? He sat down under the tree, he chanted Hare Krishna. This is how this movement goes on. This is how to spread Krishna consciousness all around the world. But whatever that one thing is you're attached to, do that. That was also part of the process. And we don't have to try to imitate anyone. We have to find what's in our heart, what's important to us, how we can serve Krishna. And Prabhupada said, devotee, he can do anything. Like we see Prabhupada, he was expert at anything. He said that wasn't required. He said you should know how to do a little of everything, but be expert in one thing. He said that's Vaishnava. So it can take us some time to understand what it is, what that gift is that Prabhupada, that Krishna has given us in this body to serve, how to become attached to no matter what, that's our focus. We have no doubt Aindra Prabhu's focus. It was very nice what Dina Bandapu was saying, how he used his language in such a way just to wake us up. Prabhupada did that same thing. He would say things, make you wake up. You know, when I would go in his room, if he had to ring the bell for more than 5 seconds, if he rang it for a minute, when I went in, he would say, I've been ringing it for hours. So sometimes emphasis is required. But we should understand what that emphasis, what it means, not misunderstand. We have to understand things in its fullness. So Aindra Prabhu, he had that gift. He was able to give it to others. Myself, I can't tell many stories about Aindra Prabhu somehow or other. I didn't have that that opportunity. I didn't have that good fortune to spend so much time with him. There was one story or two, but they're best for a more private audience. Again, like Dina Bandapu said, he had many things to say. But what he said was to understand the essence of what's important in Krishna consciousness. As Prabhupada did, chanting, most important thing. Whatever he said, he always, if you had to not sleep, you have to chant, finish your rounds. Even if it meant you were, as many devotees did in those days, stand up against the wall to finish their rounds. Otherwise they would fall over sleeping. So I'll keep it short here. As I said, there's many other devotees and time's going by in our life. And again, I think more than ever, we're going to understand what the very essence of Krishna consciousness is. And that's chanting Hare Krishna and giving others the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna, because that's where the purification comes. That's how the mirror of the heart, that's how we can cleanse it by that. So thank you all very much for a chance to talk. And this will go on year after year. There's Appearance Day, Disappearance Day. I'm happy to be here in Vrindavan. He understood that many, many years ago, Aindra. It took me a very long time to understand the importance of just settling here in Vrindavan to do our business for Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Aindra Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shruti Kaju. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Nanda Gopal Prabhu. And then Mukunda Dat Prabhu, you can please speak next. And then Radhagolokananda Maharaj, thank you for coming.
Hare Krishna. Aindra Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We have such a great fortune to have all this beautiful culture in our lives, all of us here, and meet. I'm most amazed that my life was completely in darkness, and I was contemplating suicide before I met Srila Prabhupada, and now it's just it's a great amazement that we meet such a great personalities like Aindra Prabhu and all these great beautiful Vaishnavas that we have around us, and such a steady offering of bhakti. And so I have a COVID last year and I'm losing my memory. I met Aindra Virya when we came to India. Virya is here? Eh? Which year? 2005. But 96, I think I met. Anyway, when I met Aindra, it was so amazing, and I have such a beautiful and sweet feelings with him. But I was a little shy to approach him too much, and so anyway, I became friends with him, and I tried to approach him more and more, and he invited me upstairs in his room, and he would talk to me, and we have a nice chats and nice association. And he even gave me some silas as a gift, which I was worshipping them for year after year. So, okay, so thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Aindra Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Now we'd like to invite Mukundadat Prabhu, if you would kindly speak something.
Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His Grace Aindra Prabhu ki. So today is a very auspicious day. Of course, every day for the Vaishnavas is auspicious. Today is Hira Panchami, a very wonderful occasion in Jagannath Puri in regards to Jagannath. And of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, and there's a beautiful description also between of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is relating how Mahaprabhu is asking Swarup Damodar to speak about Braj, and then Shivas Pandit is speaking about the festival of Hira Panchami, the goddess of fortune, Dwarka. So which is very deep. Of course, we don't have time to speak so much. But the main point is that ultimately Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give the holy names, the Yugadharma, the chanting of the holy names. But then not only that, but he gave also the mood, the bhav. It's not that simply we chant the holy names. Many people are chanting the holy names. Even Mayavadis, they want to become one with the Brahma Jyoti. And even in South India, the worshippers of Ram, they chant Hare Krishna, Hare Ram to enter the pastimes of Ramchandra, which is fine. And some they want to go to Vaikunta, to Dwarka. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give the holy names, but also to give Braj Bhakti. And then especially also Unadurjala Ras, the loving exchange between Krishna and the gopis, the mood of the gopis, and especially, of course, Srimati Radharani, the most exalted. And today or sometimes the Tith is the next day, Vakreshwar Pandit, Disappearance Day. Also significant, who was a great devotee of Mahaprabhu. Of course, the devotees of Mahaprabhu, most of them are associates of Krishna and Braj also. And many of them are gopis, as we know. And because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is no different from Radha and Krishna. So Aindra Prabhu, he was a very wonderful, very special devotee, very dear to certainly Srila Prabhupada, because he was following Prabhupada's instructions. And so he understood the essence of the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. And of course, which Prabhupada actually presented that, but Prabhupada, he had to establish that we have to follow Vaidhi Bhakti, we have to do book distribution, we have to worship the deities. Of course, he was stressing chanting the holy names also. But I remember even in the beginning of our movement, and then not many devotees understood actually what is the essence. But Aindra Prabhu, he quickly understood what is the essence of this Krishna consciousness movement. So, as practicing devotee, and it's just remembering Bhakreshwar Pandit, wonderful devotee, and he was absorbed in chanting the holy names and dancing. And one time, it is explained, he was chanting and dancing for 72 hours, 3 days and 3 nights. I mean, we try to chant sometimes in kirtan, we can do half an hour, maybe 1 hour, and then we get a kind of tired, at least myself. Only exceptional personalities, they can do that. So Vakreshwar Pandit, eternal associate, so. But then you can see, for example, Aindra Prabhu, he was also so special and exceptional. I mean, I have practically not seen anybody else who could chant as much and as enthusiastic as Aindra Prabhu. So in the beginning, when he came here, so of course Prabhupada, he wanted the 24-hour kirtan, and it was started, but they didn't have enough devotees, and they didn't have devotees like Aindra Prabhu. Because even if there was, Aindra would have been there in the beginning, would have continued, but there was nobody like Aindra Prabhu. But still wonderful devotees, but there are different services to be done. So they could only do a little while. When I first came here in 1980, there was no 24-hour kirtan, but then I had Prabhupada Krishna meditation, wonderful tape also of Prabhupada chanting, the Maha Mantra and different songs were there. And only doing the Artik, the devotees were chanting in the morning Mangalatik, as we know, and Sandhya Artik, otherwise just the tape of Srila Prabhupada. But actually Prabhupada wanted the 24-hour kirtan, and as we know and as we heard, and that Aindra Prabhu, he came in 1986, and then he started himself, practically you can say single-handedly. He was starting, and then slowly but surely 1 or 2 devotees, they were chanting also. But then he was spending so much time chanting the holy names, sometimes alone, just chanting in the night time for many hours the holy names. But then slowly but surely more devotees were coming. And then, but still, for example, on festival days, he used to chant for many, many hours. Like, for example, the Abhishek was there at 10 o'clock in the morning, like Radhashtami or Nityananda Trayodasi, Balaram Purnima. And then he was chanting from 10 o'clock, and only he was chanting. Now we have different devotees to give everyone a chant, which is nice. So he was chanting from 10 o'clock till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and then the program is over, and practically everyone goes for prasadam. But Aindra Prabhu, he was continuing chanting the holy names. He was thinking, and usually the normal devotees, they are all waiting for prasad. Many times they don't even attend the artik, what to speak of being there till the temple is closed. They're all waiting in line for prasad. But Aindra Prabhu, he was just chanting and chanting. Sometimes even devotees finishing prasadam, even myself after the seva, taking a little prasad, and then 2 o'clock, and then taking my bag to go home, 2:30, and Aindra Prabhu is still chanting sometimes. And then again you come in the evening, and Aindra Prabhu again was chanting. 6 o'clock at the latest, before even, in the beginning he was coming earlier. But getting older, more devotees are there, and then used to come 6, and then maybe 6:20. And then, but so for the point was for many, many hours he could chant, and very enthusiastically, with so much energy, really wonderful. And then of course other devotees are there, and they're chanting wonderful, and and enthusiastic, but when Aindra Prabhu was chanting, then the atmosphere was just completely surcharged and transcendental. Many times we used to come in the evening, devotees are chanting, and then after, of course, some years, when he was well known, then it was something everyone was waiting for. When is Aindra Prabhu coming for the kirtan? So devotees are there 4:35 and starting to chant 5:36, and then everyone is waiting for Aindra Prabhu. And when Aindra Prabhu came, sitting down and chanting, then it becomes completely surcharged with spiritual atmosphere, and the atmosphere is completely changing, and everyone becomes very much enlivened by his presence, and by his chanting the holy names. So most impressive, most wonderful. So great contribution, his establishing the 24-hour kirtan as per Prabhupada's desire. Actually, Prabhupada, he said 3 things are most important in Vrindavan. So one of them, of course, is chanting of the holy names, and then prasadam distribution, and of course worshipping the deities, the deity worship. And we know without the deities, then we don't have the strength, and where will be the attraction, the attachment. So everything is, so Krishna is there in the Archa Vigraha. But then, as we also know, and as devotees we have seen, Dina Bandapu was saying, when we go to other temples, we just hear the bells usually, and no kirtan. But when the kirtan is there, then the Lord is actually pleased, Krishna is pleased, Mahaprabhu is pleased. And then the atmosphere becomes surcharged, and the pilgrims also, they become very much enlivened when they come, and we can see. Even nowadays, of course, by ultimately Aindra Prabhu's mercy, Prabhupada's mercy, Mahaprabhu's mercy, the kirtan, 24-hour kirtan is going extremely nicely. Sometimes we know when the great personalities are leaving, then there are some difficulties. As we know, even Prabhupada left, and there was some anxiety, what will happen now when Prabhupada is there. Even when Aindra Prabhu left, so then even myself or other devotees were thinking now how it will continue, the 24-hour kirtan. But because Aindra Prabhu, and even our movement, because of Prabhupada's purity, because of being empowered, the movement is going on very nicely. Similarly, do a 24-hour kirtan by, of course, Prabhupada's mercy also, but then by Aindra Prabhu's mercy and by his desire and his purity. And so it is still going on, and extremely nicely. It is very wonderful to see how the kirtans, the devotees are there, chanting the holy names very nicely, as being inspired by Aindra Prabhu, also many of them being trained by Prabhu, Aindra Prabhu, or having been able to grasp the mood of Aindra Prabhu, and they're very nicely continuing right after the disappearance of Aindra Prabhu. It has continued, and it is continuing still now, and we have plenty of devotees in the ashram. The ashram is full, right? It's not full? Now you're in difficult condition. Oh, you need good men. So please, anybody wants to join, there's a wonderful opportunity to join. And so, but last few years it was mostly full. You lost some good people. I guess maybe COVID also, or just maybe in due course of time, difficulties are there. So we pray that more devotees are coming again. If so anyone has any, of course, outside devotees are there and they are joining also. But you need a good group in the ashram actually. That is important. So let's see if we find some devotees who are wanting some seva, then we'll send them to you. And so another point which is important, so we have seen, we have realized, understood that the wonderful chanting of the holy names and the different rags he was chanting, the different tunes, which are not even known in our society before Aindra Prabhu. And actually Aindra Prabhu, we were speaking about this Devara Baba and others also. Many experienced Caitanyas were there in Braj also. And actually, because I also have been at that time here and I have heard and then recognized how he was able to get from some other great Vaishnavas some nice tunes. And of course then also being inspired by the Lord, then sometimes the Lord is revealing also maybe some tune that is there too. But his singing was really exceptional and wonderful with his different melodies, rags, and so he was knowing also different time, in the morning time which rag to chant, evening time which rag to chant. But one more point, of course we don't have much time, so I will try not to, I could go on for hours, but there are many other devotees, so I will try to keep it short. But what is very important, as I was saying about the conversation between, as Mahaprabhu wanted also, Sarupa Damodar and Shivas Pandit, for example, Braj Bhakti and then the Vaikuntha Bhav. So, and of course we know the highest rhyme is Golok Vrindavan, and the Brijabasis to have the highest, the most exalted love for Krishna, Prem, and especially the Gopis. And the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually, he came to give Braj Bhakti. And we can see also, so the Aindra Prabhu, he was not only chanting the holy names, but he was giving also this knowledge, of course following rules and regulations. But then what is even more important, and when we see Rupa Goswami has explained also Vaidhi Bhakti, and then Sadhana Bhakti following rules and regulations, but then there is also Raganuga Bhakti, following the eternal associates of Krishna and Braj, serving with of course transcendental emotion, spontaneity, spontaneous love. And so Aindra Prabhu definitely, he had this wonderful spontaneous love for Krishna, and he was actually able to give that to others also, and explaining about the importance of adopting the path of Raganuga Bhakti, following the eternal associates of Krishna and Braj. So he was chanting the holy names, but then he was taking care of the devotees who were serving in the department by giving them knowledge, this transcendental knowledge, how to progress in spiritual life. And because of that also, many devotees were attracted to him. I mean, by Krishna's arrangement, somehow I am a pujari, but I met him first time in New York in 1984. And he was there, as we have heard, with his truck going out to chant the holy names. And by that time already I was a pujari, and then I was worshipping there Radha Govinda. But somehow, by, of course, Krishna's mercy also, and then ultimately, then Aindra Prabhu's kindness, or as we say also, different birds, the birds of one flock, of one feather they flock together. Like the swans are together, the parrots are together, the crows are together. So those with the same mood, usually they will come together. So then somehow we met each other there by, of course, better to say by divinatrina, by transcendental arrangement. And immediately we had a very wonderful relationship. And I used to do my Diti Seva, and used to go out on Sankirtan with 2-3 devotees. Also there I didn't have many devotees. And in the evening time we used to meet and we used to talk. Or sometimes in the morning, after the morning program, I used to see him downstairs in a Skirmhorn Street, Brooklyn Temple. And then we used to talk about, of course, transcendental subject matters, about the holy names, the deity worship. And I could see immediately that he's a very special devotee and very exalted devotee. And all the symptoms of for example, that is explained of the Bhav Bhaktas, those on the platform of Bhav. They were seen in his personality, not wasting one moment, and I never heard him speak any prajalpa. He was just speaking Krishna Katha or things related to Seva, Of course, he was very outspoken, as other devotees have told, and Dina Bandapu Prabhu also, to hell with the GBC and things like that. But with deep realization and wanting to make a point that we should not just manage the society, but we should try to make sure that everyone is chanting the holy names. And not only chanting the holy names, but the point also of trying to get the proper mood and chant the holy names with the proper mood. Then we will get the proper result. And so I had the good fortune of spending a good amount of time with him in New York, 84, 85, and then he came here to Vrindavan in 86. I was still there, but in 86 I came back, and then our relationship, our friendship continued till the end of his glorious life. And of course also I like to mention always about his contribution in deity worship, because I'm a pujari, and although he was not, so to say, a pujari, but he was also doing deity worship. He had his small deities. First in New York, he only had the small deities, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, and Gonitai, which he was taking out on the truck every day. And then, so that was his deity worship he was doing every day, and then he came to Braj. But at one point, there was a need of some pujari, because the pujaris were on strike. And then they were asking him if he cannot come on the altar and dress the deities. And he had some idea, but then it was Ram Bhadra from New York who was here at that time also, and together they were dressing. And then he was actually dressing the deities for 8 months, and very beautifully with Braj Bhav. And then you could see the deities looking extremely beautiful. And how he was dressing them and hanging the garland, hanging the cloth, very artistic and very natural. It was looking like Radha Krishna, they are just there and they are dancing. And then, but then one day he was very much in the mood of the gopis stealing Krishna's flute, which is sometimes happening at noontime. And then so he had, so Radharani, in Radharani's hand the flute was there, and so Krishna didn't have the flute. And when they opened the curtain, the senior devotees, they were not so happy, and then they chastised him. And then he was so disappointed that the next day the deity is very simple. Just the garland was straight, and he didn't hang the cloth because he was disappointed. But actually he's disappointed. Of course I was also talking with him, but that was actually the rise of my good fortune somehow. Because then he asked me to dress the deities. And then I became Radhisham's pujari, and later on the head pujari. But still then later on I invited him again to dress the deities, and he was dressing first once a week, Sunday, and I asked him to dress Saturday also. And then every festival he was dressing Shyamasundar and I was dressing Radharani. And then so wonderful experiences are there. And we remember, but so the opportunity is there on his appearance day and his disappearance to be more absorbed in his remembrance, and then we can pray to him also to help us to also be able to be so focused in our life in chanting the holy names, not only kirtan but japa also. So because that is important also, and he was chanting very nice japa, of course, and many rounds. And Aindra Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'd like to call our temple president, Radha Golokananda Maharaj, to speak something next. And anyway, again, I don't want to restrict anybody, but we don't have unlimited time. There's some time constraints. So we can just humbly ask the speakers to be a little sensitive to that. We do still have several nice devotees we'd like to hear from.
Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Aindra Prabhu ki. On behalf of Shri Radha Shyam Sundar, Shri Krishna Balram Ji, Shri Gaur Nitai Ji, Srila Prabhupada, I would like to thank all of you who are present here today.
मैं कृष्ण बलराम श्री राज श्याम सुंदर श्री गौर निताई की और श्री प्रभुपाद की ओर से आप सबको धन्यवाद कहना चाहते हूँ क्योंकि आप सब यहाँ उपस्थित हैं.
I would also like to take this responsibility to thank Akichan Krishna Prabhu, Ratimanjari Mataji, and many of the devotees for organizing this program in memory of Aindra Prabhu today.
मैं उन सभी भक्तों का विशेष रूप से अकिंचन कृष्ण प्रभु का धन्यवाद कहना चाहूँगा जिन्होंने ये आइंद्र प्रभु के गुणगान के लिए सुंदर कार्यक्रम का आयोजन किया है.
It is our great fortune to be present on such an occasion where such a great personality has showed by his personal examples how the Lord can be served.
ये हमारे लिए बहुत ही सौभाग्य की बात है कि हमें ये सुअवसर प्राप्त हुआ है कि इतना महान व्यक्तित्व थे श्रीपाद आयेंद्र प्रभु कि उनके गुणगान और ऐसे कार्यक्रम और उनकी संगति जिन्होंने स्वयं हरे कृष्ण मंत्र के बारे में शिक्षा दिया, हमको उनका संग प्राप्त हुआ है.
All of us, we are chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for so many years continuously and in various places.
हम लोग सब कई वर्षों से हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र का जप कर रहे हैं, कई वर्षों से और अलग अलग जगह पे कर रहे हैं.
But to taste the presence of the Lord in the holy name, this is there with very few devotees.
लेकिन भगवान के नामों में भगवान की उपस्थिति को अनुभव करना ये सुअवसर या ऐसा अनुभव बहुत कम भक्तों को हुआ होगा.
For us to chant these rounds, many of us would think that this is such a heavy task. You finish those 16 rounds and life is peaceful.
So, हम में से अधिकांश लोगों के लिए तो ये 16 माला का जाप एक बहुत भारी कार्य है और हम सोचते हैं कि जब कब समाप्त होगा तो एक भार सिर से उतर जाएगा.
But Aindra Prabhu has demonstrated through his example that despite the fact that he is not here today, after 12 years, still there are so many devotees who are continuously absorbed in the chanting of the Lord to get this 24-hour kirtan going on in Vrindavan.
लेकिन आयेंद्र प्रभु ने अपने उदाहरण से ये प्रस्तुत किया और आज हम देखते हैं कि उनकी उपस्थिति के 12 वर्ष हो गए हैं, फिर भी कई लोग जो 24 घंटे का ये कार्यक्रम चल रहा है कीर्तन कार्यक्रम उसमें जुड़े हैं और जुड़ने का सौभाग्य प्राप्त करना चाहते हैं और जुड़े रहना चाहते हैं.
Just like Srila Prabhupada had the desire that this holy name of the Lord should be going on in Vrindavan, in the movement, and it is desired by Lord. This is a Yuga Dharma. But Aindra Prabhu had implicit faith in this, that the holy name is the means of deliverance for the people.
जैसे श्रील प्रभुपाद और श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु भी शिक्षा से समझाए कि कलयुग का युग धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र है, उस शिक्षा में आयेंद्र प्रभु को पूर्ण विश्वास था और उन्होंने अपने जीवन में ये जी के सिखाया हमको.
We may try to change the holy name. We may try to change the name of the Lord. But unless and until you are empowered by the Lord, you will not be able to do it the way Aindra Prabhu has done it.
हम लोग जप कर सकते हैं हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र का प्रचार भी कर सकते हैं, लेकिन जब तक भगवान हमें शक्ति नहीं प्रदान करेंगे तब तक हम उनको जैसे आइंद्र प्रभु ने साक्षात्कार किया ऐसा हम नहीं कर पाएंगे।
Prabhuji has this much faith in the holy name of the Lord that Srila Prabhupada told him this. The movement started like this. He continuously chanted and inspired devotees all over the world to be chanting the holy name of the Lord devotionally.
So, जब से इन्होंने ये प्रभुपाद की शिक्षा अनुसार शुरू किया 24 घंटे का कीर्तन कार्यक्रम, सो ये तब से उनके अंदर इतना विश्वास था उस कार्यक्रम में और इतना श्रद्धा था कि पूरे विश्व के लोग इससे आकर्षित हुए थे और आज भी उससे आकर्षित हो रहे हैं।
Even today, all over the world, this kirtan of Aindra Prabhu, which has been recorded, is playing in all over the world in so many devotees' house and so many temples.
आज भी पूरे विश्व में हर भक्तों के घर आइंद्र प्रभु के जो रिकॉर्डेड कीर्तन्स हैं वो बजाए जा रहे हैं।
He would sing so devotionally that would touch your heart and that could keep you sitting and hearing for so many hours without being affected.
उनका जो कीर्तन था वो इतना भक्तिमय था कि जब कोई उसको सुनता है तो घंटों तक उसको सुन सकता है और उसमें डूब जाता है।
And we can see today that I am very happy that I see so many devotees sitting there in the same mood, just sitting and chanting and getting so many of these visitors engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord.
So आज मैं देखता हूँ कि उसी मूड से, उसी भाव से भक्त लोग ये 24 घंटा जो हरि कृष्ण मंत्र कीर्तन चल रहा है वो चला रहे हैं और जो विजिटर मंदिर में आ रहे हैं उसको भी हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र के साथ जोड़ रहे हैं।
It is easy to do something in your presence, but in your absence and still to get people to continue like that, that is a very difficult task.
So किसी की उपस्थिति में कुछ कार्य करना तो ठीक है, लेकिन उनकी अनुपस्थिति में कार्य चलते रहना ये बहुत ही कठिन कार्य है।
You need the blessings of the Lord to be able to do this.
हमें भगवान के आशीर्वाद चाहिए ये कार्य करने के लिए।
I remember now it is almost 25 years we opened the Radhapad Sarthi temple. So during the time the kirtan is not going on by the devotees, we would be playing some tape in the temple hall.
So दिल्ली में राधा पार्थसारथी मंदिर को खुले 25 साल हो गया, तो वहाँ भी हम कीर्तन करते हैं, लेकिन जब कीर्तन नहीं कर रहे होते हैं भक्त तो हम टेप बजा देते हैं।
And we have so many great devotees and big kirtan leaders in the movement. So we thought that many tape could be played.
तो हमने सोचा कि हमारे संस्था में तो बहुत बड़े कीर्तनकार भक्त हैं, महान भक्त हैं, तो उनके कीर्तन हम हमारे मंदिर में बजा देंगे।
But while going on, there were conflict of views from many leaders.
लेकिन जब हमने वो शुरू किया तो काफ़ी सारी दुविधाएं आ रही थी अलग अलग लीडर्स के माध्यम से।
I went to His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. I asked him, Guru Maharaj, this temple is visited by so many thousands of people. Just last Sunday, 22,000 people came to visit Radhapad Sarthi temple when there are 17 temples there. So I asked him, Maharaj, there are so many visitors coming here. So which tape should I play?
तो मैं परम पूज्य गोपाल कृष्ण महाराज के पास गया और मैंने उनको पूछा कि इस मंदिर राधा पार्थसारथी मंदिर में तो बहुत लोग आते हैं, पिछले रविवार 22,000 लोग आए थे और 17 मंदिर होने के बावजूद भी इतने लोग इस मंदिर में आ रहे हैं, तो मैं कौन सा टेप बजाऊं?
Gopal Krishna Maharaj told me, you play only one tape.
गोपाल कृष्ण महाराज ने उत्तर दिया, केवल आप एक ही टेप बजाएं।
You play the tape of Aindra Prabhu.
आप आइंद्र प्रभु की टेप बजाएं।
So at that time, I was very young in India because I just came to India 5 years ago. So I asked him, Guru Maharaj, There are such big devotees, sannyasis, and so many great devotees. So you are restricting me to play the tape of only Aindra Prabhu. Is there any understanding to that? Hi.
सो मैंने महाराज को कहा कि इतने बड़े बड़े सन्यासी हैं और कई और कीर्तन करने वाले महान भक्त हैं इस्कॉन में, तो आप क्यों मुझे आइंद्र प्रभु पे रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर रहे हो?
Gopal Krishna Maharaj said, Aindra Prabhu is a very great devotee. So you please don't worry. You play only his tape.
आइंद्र प्रभु एक बहुत महान व्यक्तित्व भक्त हैं, तो आप चिंता मत कीजिए कि
So today, after these many years, this practice of playing only Aindra Prabhu's theme in ISKCON Delhi is being followed under the instruction of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj.
सो इतने वर्षों से ये क्रिया चल रही है हमारे राधा पार सारथी मंदिर में कि हम केवल एक ही टेप बजाते हैं और वो आइंद्र प्रभु की बजाते हैं.
I would also like to take this opportunity without taking much time from Prabhuji and from all of you. There are 3 classes of devotees in the whole world.
तो पूरे विश्व में 3 श्रेणी के भक्त हैं.
The third class devotee are those devotees, if they are given an instructions, so they would find many ways and excuses for not doing the service.
तो तृतीय श्रेणी के भक्त वो हैं कि कोई सूचना उनको मिलेगी तो वो कई प्रकार के बहाने निकालेंगे उसको ना करने के लिए.
The second class devotees are those devotees who would hear the instructions, receive it, and then they would try to execute those services to the extent to which it has been conveyed to them.
द्वितीय श्रेणी के भक्त वो हैं कि जब कोई सूचना प्राप्त करते हैं सो जो सूचना मिली है उतना ही वो करने का प्रयास करते हैं.
And the first class devotees are those devotees who would receive the instructions, but understanding the mood of the spiritual master or the devotees, they would execute more than that.
प्रथम श्रेणी के भक्त वो हैं कि जब गुरु से कोई आदेश प्राप्त होता है तो उस आदेश का भाव समझते हैं और जो आदेश प्राप्त हुआ है उसको कई अधिक गुना करने का प्रयास करते हैं.
This example is shown to us by Hanuman ji.
ये उदाहरण हम देखते हैं हनुमान जी के जीवन में.
Hanuman ji was not told by Lord Ramchandra to go and burn Lanka.
हनुमान जी को ये आदेश नहीं मिला था कि जाइए और लंका को जला दीजिए.
But understanding the desire of the Lord, and after meeting Srimati Sita Devi, Hanuman ji, he executed more than the instruction was given to him.
लेकिन भगवान का जो भाव था वो समझ के और जब सीता माता को मिले तो हनुमान जी ने जो सूचना आदेश प्राप्त किया था उसे कई गुना अधिक कर दिखाया.
The same thing is taught by us by His Grace Aindra Prabhu.
ये इसी प्रकार से श्रीपाद आइंद्र प्रभु से भी हम देखने को मिलता है कि उन्होंने भी ऐसा ही किया.
Srila Prabhupada's instructions and desire was this 24-hour kirtan should go.
श्री प्रभुपाद जी की इच्छा थी कि इस मंदिर में 24 घंटे कीर्तन चलते रहे.
Aindra Prabhu is not a formal guru.
आइंद्र प्रभु कोई फॉर्मल गुरु नहीं है.
He has not been recognized by the ISKCON society to such an extent.
उन्हें ऐसे अधिकृत गुरु के रूप में पद नहीं मिला इस्कॉन संस्था में.
But more than that, he is the guru of so many devotees and so many people all over the world through his own example.
लेकिन उनके उदाहरण से हम देखते हैं कि पूरे विश्व में वो कई लोगों के गुरु हैं क्योंकि उन्होंने कई लोगों को हरे कृष्ण मंत्र से जोड़ा है.
And so many devotees are only delivering this message of engaging people in the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, because by this process they may go back to Godhead and attain Krishna Prime.
और उनके पद चिन्हों पे आज कई भक्त लगे हुए हैं जो इसी हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र का कीर्तन करके लोगों को भगवान से जोड़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि इसी के माध्यम से हम भगवत धाम वापस जा सकते हैं.
And I am convinced today, just like so many devotees are there today, they have taken this and they are doing this kirtan, and people from all over the world, devotees from all over the world are coming here and participating in kirtan and hearing about the holy name of the Lord.
और मुझे इस बात का विश्वास हो गया है, यहाँ जब मैं देख रहा हूँ कि यहाँ जो कीर्तन चल रहा है उसमें पूरे विश्व से लोग आ रहे हैं और उसमें भाग ले रहे हैं और हरे कृष्ण मंत्र के साथ जुड़ रहे हैं.
So we can understand the important role which Aindra Prabhu is still playing in our life today, in the lives of billions of people all over the world. And it will continue as he has created that operation in the future also.
So हम देखते हैं कि आज उनकी अनुपस्थिति में भी वो कार्य उसी तरह से चल रहा है जैसा उन्होंने चलाया था, और भविष्य में भी ये चलते रहेगा और लाखों करोड़ों लोगों तक इस माध्यम से भगवान का संदेश पहुंचेगा.
So I would like to stop here.
So यहाँ मैं विराम लेना चाहूँगा.
And I would like to clarify one last point.
और एक आखिरी पॉइंट.
If you want to know that after somebody has left his body, where has this person reached? You can know it through one example.
अगर आप जानना चाहें कोई व्यक्ति जिसने अपना शरीर छोड़ दिया है तो वो उसकी गति क्या हुई है, तो एक उदाहरण से आप जान सकते हैं.
Just like Parikshit Maharaj had to pass away, has to leave this world. So many sadhus from so many demigods, so many sadhus, so many people came at that time.
तो जैसे परीक्षित महाराज को अपना शरीर छोड़ना था तो पूरी हर जगह से साधु लोग एकत्रित हुए थे.
And today so many sadhus are here. Despite Prabhuji is not here present, so many sadhus are still present. So you cannot imagine that the presence of the Lord is not here.
So हम देखते हैं कि आज प्रभु जी को गए इतना साल हो गया, फिर भी इतने सारे भक्त एकत्रित हुए हैं और हम ऐसा सोच भी नहीं सकते कि भगवान की उपस्थिति नहीं होगी वहाँ.
Thank you very much, and I especially like to take this opportunity to thank all the devotees who are taking part in this kirtan by sitting there, by chanting, and by personally doing this kirtan under the directions of Govinda Prabhu, Keshia Prabhu. So many devotees are there. This is a very great service for ISKCON Vrindavan, and this constitutes half of ISKCON Vrindavan. Half is taken care by Prabhuji by the deity worship, and half of this is a kirtan of ISKCON Vrindavan.
We understand. I think we understood already. तो महाराज कहते हैं कि मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ सभी भक्तों का जो ये 24 घंटे कीर्तन के कार्यक्रम को चला रहे हैं, वहाँ बैठ के कीर्तन करते हैं, जो उसमें भाग ले रहे हैं. और कृष्ण बलराम मंदिर का आधा मुख्य सेवा है भगवान के विग्रह की सेवा, जो मुकुंद दत्त प्रभु डीटी डिपार्टमेंट देख रहे हैं, और जो दूसरा आधा है वो हरे कृष्ण कीर्तन धुन जो 24 घंटा कीर्तन चलता है, अकिंचन कृष्ण प्रभु और अन्य भक्त उनके सहयोगी भक्त जो कर रहे हैं, तो उन सबको विशेष आभार व्यक्त कर रहे हैं महाराज.
And Mukunda Datta Prabhu has to create a team like this so that the deity worship of Radha Shyam Sundar Krishna Balramji and Gaur Nitai can continue for years and years to come.
और मुकुंद दत्त प्रभु को भी ऐसी टीम क्रिएट करनी है कि जो भगवान ठाकुर जी की सेवा ऐसे ही चलती रहे आने वाले सालों तक.
Thank you very much. Please forgive me if I might have said anything which could have hurt your sentiment. I did not have any intention as such.
धन्यवाद, और मुझे क्षमा कीजिएगा अगर कुछ मैंने ऐसा बोल दिया है जिससे आपको ठेस पहुंची हो. ऐसा मेरा कोई इच्छा नहीं था बोलने का. हरे कृष्णा.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. His Grace Aindra Prabhu ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki.
Maharaj, thank you so much. Thank you. Now our time is a little short. I would like to call Priti Mataji. Please, will you please speak something? No, please, actually, I insist. Priti Mataji and her family had very nice relationship with Aindra Prabhu. She has many wonderful memories and stories to share.
Aindra Prabhu ki jai. It's okay now? Yeah. So, I met Aindra Prabhu 1990. I was very, very young. Thank you. So since 1990 till today, and coming years, and after even, going back home or wherever I go, Aindra Prabhu will be always there with me in my heart. There is so many memories with him. I cooked for him. I did kirtan with him. There is so many things, since so many years I spent with him. I just want to say that he's everything to me. And sorry, Tell us a story. Yeah. His smile, his eyes, his hands, his style of playing kirtan, his style of sitting in harmonium, everything is tremendous. Once, it was, I don't remember the year, but he was doing, that was Radha Ashtami, and we were living at that time in Agra. So we came for Radha Ashtami, and he was doing kirtan, and after after the Abhishek finished, it was 1 already, the darshan was closed, and I think 1:30, all the devotees, they were going out. Only Aindra Prabhu and few devotees were there, and I was sitting, and I was there behind the pillar. Sorry to say, this is very. So I saw where Aindra Prabhu was sitting, there was loads of sweat of Aindra Prabhu. And I was, and I was thinking, wow, such a nectar is there. I'd collect and I drank it. Those who were with Aindra Prabhu, they can understand, such a nice thing. He comes to our house. He loved me so much. I love him very, very much. I pray to Radhesham, please take me today and I should be with him all for the rest of eternity. He is my everything. We came here because of it. He mercifully granted us to be here, and we are here since 1990. We are here in Vrindavan Dham, and I have no desire because he inject me not to leave Vrindavan Dham, and still today I'm in Vrindavan Dham. Once I told him that, these 5 fingers, I said, when you play harmonium, it looks like Chaitanya Panchatattva, they are playing kirtan, Panchatattva is dancing over the harmonium, and then he laughs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you to Aindra Prabhu very much. I love you.
Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'd like to call Aranya Vihari Prabhu. Please go on, Aranya Vihari Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण मुखम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंगायते गिरिम यत्कृपातमहं वंदे श्री गुरुम दीनतारणम। श्रीपाद आयेंद्र प्रभु की जय। I'm a bit nervous, sorry for that. The time is less. Actually, this year I wanted not to talk just about my memories with Aindra Prabhu, because for past few years I've already spoken almost most of it actually. So, what I thought that why not to, make it something which glorifies Aindra Prabhu's qualities much more than what individually I shared, or maybe in between I'll try to share few exchanges what I had with Sripad Aindra Prabhu. It might sound a bit funny, but this year I thought the name Aindra, I will try to expand it. So, Aindra, the first letter of the name Aindra, A. So, Aindra Prabhu was very agitating personality. Really, he was. Anybody who came in his contact, he used to get really, really agitated. And by agitation, I don't mean that really they used to get very depressed or disturbed. But yes, the concept of material life was really, really agitated. And that's what his kirtans were all about. Whenever he used to sing kirtan, even the common mass of the people who used to come and attend his kirtan, I witnessed, and I'm sure many of other devotees also must have noticed it, they used to shed tears. They used to get too much of ecstasy. The expressions were very, very different. The way Aindra Prabhu used to do kirtan, they were used to stand still and just with wide open eyes, they used to say Aindra Prabhu, oh, what a kirtan he's doing. And they used to sometimes jump very high, and at times they used to behave sometimes crazy also. But actually Srimad Bhagavatam says that tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin prati shlokam abadhyavatyapi. That this word viplav in this verse says the viplav means the agitation. So actually the bhakti path creates agitation in the material life of the agha. Agha is the pap, the sinful life of people. And that's what Aindra Prabhu used to do. Whenever he used to do kirtan, it is to shake the roots of the sinful life of our existence. And it is to actually divert us towards more and more to the mercy of Radha and Shyam, Shri Radha Shyam Sundar. And I went through the same experience. In 1998, I was a college student that time, and it was my second trip to Vrindavan, and it was boat festival. Everything was very nice. The temple was filled with the water, and on the festival days where we do Srila Prabhupada Guru Puja in the morning in Kartik, so there one devotee was sitting and doing kirtan, Rati Prabhu, very melodious and nice kirtan. And suddenly I saw one devotee who had long beard, golden kind of beard, and very, very effulgent, hanging the box harmonium, not this size, a bit smaller than this. He came And from nowhere, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of devotees started coming, and they gathered together, and then Prabhuji started pumping his harmonium, and it was once in a lifetime experience which I had that time. And that actually created a lot of agitation to my sinful existence. And after that, Krishna consciousness or Vrindavan consciousness means Aindra Prabhu, and Aindra Prabhu means Vrindavan for me and my whole family, actually speaking. So that's A. I had some more things, but I'll just go short. So I is indifferent. Aindra Prabhu was really, really very indifferent to all the, material thoughts, material comforts. For many, many, many years, he just had a very small air cooler. If you remember, the old devotees must remember that, yes, very small air cooler. This kind of torturing weather, and he was having just that air cooler. After a lot of convincing by so many devotees, he actually agreed that, yes, okay, I will switch to air condition. He used to have styes in eyes, boils on the whole body, but still he was very much against of this, material comfort. But even if you go to his room, AC is on, what was the temperature? 30. 28, 29, 30. That used to be the range of the temperature. Because what he said, that this is the temperature of eternal Vrindavan. I was really, and from where, I don't know how he knew all this information. I could not dare to ask him, but when such an authority is saying, that means that must be there. So, Bhagavatam says that, Evam vrataha swapriya nama kirtya jata anurago drita chitta uchchay hasati yathi rodati roti gayati unmata vart nrityati lokabhaya. That Evam vrata, the only firm vow what he took, that I'll sit in Vrindavan Dham at this place in front of Radha Shyam Sundar or Krishna Balram or Gaur Nitai, and what I'll do, I'll just do Swa Priya Nama Kirtya. My beloved Shyama Sundar's name, I'll just glorify. And what Bhagavatam says, this is actually meant for actually Aindra Prabhu. This word by word, this actually describes Aindra Prabhu's personality. Swapriyanam Jata Nurago Drutta Chitta Uchchay. And then with a loud voice, what the devotee does, Hasati. We have seen Aindra Prabhu sometimes laughing, even in the tape, in the Vraj Vilas tape, you must say, ha ha ha, there's a, laugh, and then suddenly says, okay, now let's be serious. Roditi, the devotee cries, and the devotees who have attended Aindra Prabhu's Kirtan in person, they must have witnessed at least once or twice shedding tears of love for Radharani and Shyam Sundar. And I also witnessed a few times this kind of, exchange between a beloved devotee and the beloved Lord. It was so amazing. There was one devotee, Adiras Prabhu, you remember? Adiras Prabhu, the Russian Prabhu. Very, very sweet devotee. Once, Aindra Prabhu was singing Kirtan, and suddenly, from only, I don't know how is it possible, only from one right eye the tear came. It was continuously flowing. And Adiras Prabhu was just seeing it with wide open eyes. And after a few minutes, there was some tear in the left eye. And as soon as he saw, he started crying tears. Another third devotee started, and I was the only left out. I thought, what's happening? So I thought, okay, I'm the only stone-hearted person who is not shedding the tears. And Roditi, Roti, and he shouts. And the Prabhu used to shout at times in the Kirtan. Hey, Haribol, Radhe! So that's how he used to, make people attentive about the Kirtan. Gayati, Unmata Vrat, Nritya. And he used to become so, of course, Aindra Prabhu never danced while Kirtan, at least most of the time. Sometimes he used to do, like we have seen those videos when he's circumambulating Srila Prabhupada and he's dancing like a madman. And indifferent, when I say indifferent, so he never cared that who is thinking what. Because sometimes people used to complain that Aindra Prabhu used to sing such a complicated melody. So nobody can follow it, at least for the initial part. Maybe when the Kirtan pumps, then yes, slowly people start, picking up the melody. Why you do so, this, that. And Aindra Prabhu said, the complaint was, why not to offer just a simple Kirtan which everybody can follow. And Aindra Prabhu said, why not to just offer simple khichdi every time? Krishna likes variety. So I want to give variety to Krishna. I'm from the camp of Srimati Radharani. Radharani never repeated a single dish which was offered to Krishna. Not a single dish was repeated. So at least I can offer few different melodies to Krishna. So that was his mood. And we know, indifferent means also he was very indifferent to the opinions. He never cared about opinions. Like Dina Bandapu was saying. So he used to establish his point with all the backing of Shastras, all the backing of scriptures. He was not, just saying things and not following it, and saying things just from his own whims and fancies. No. He was always backing Shastras and philosophy, even the Leelas. So, at the same time, the Kusumadapi Komalam Vajratapi Kathoram. So the Aindra Prabhu was very, very kathor, very strong from outside, but from inside he was very, very tender, like a flower, like a newly blossomed flower. I do remember once in the morning around, he did kirtan earlier he used to do morning kirtans also, somewhere like between 10 to 11, or whenever his mood was there. So he did until 11 or 11:30, then he started walking out. And there was one Brajvasi Baba, either Brajvasi or some Baba, he just came and in Hindi he started talking to Aindra Prabhu that I need some Lakshmi, I need some money, just give me some money, give me some money. And then Aindra Prabhu said, what is he saying? I say, he's asking some money. So then I thought to give some money, then he of course allowed me to give some money, but then he said, in Hindi, he was trying to pick up Hindi, he said, din din yahan khichdi prasad hote. Lijiye. And then he said, tell him. I said he understood what to tell him now. But the Baba was very fortunate. He actually fell at the lotus feet of Aindra Prabhu. And he took his dust, and Aindra Prabhu asked again that you just show him the way, because at that time the Khichdi Prasad used to be on the back side. You remember that time? They're on the back side of the Keshia building, near the Gurukul building. So, and once we were in Govardhan, there were Brajvasi young boys, and they were a kind of harassing to Aindra Prabhu. They were pulling his chadar, they were pulling him, and they were saying, give us money, because as soon as you see especially some white body, and that too ISKCON devotee, so they want money. So they're, Baba, paisa, Baba, paisa, Baba, paisa, and Aindra Prabhu he was not disturbed at all. He was just smiling and laughing. We were quite agitated again. We were like, what they're doing? Because pulling Aindra Prabhu's chadar, we were respecting him so much, and they were pulling his chadar, pulling him physically also. Then I tried to chase them, hey, hurt. Aindra Prabhu actually softly chastised me. No, they're Brajvasis. I actually want to give them something. And he took out some money from his bead bag and distributed. And just before that, he asked, he was holding money in his wrist like this, and he said, okay, kitna, how much? And the boy said, 50 rupiah, 50 rupees. And Aindra said, 50 rupiah? And he acted like he's having a heart attack. And actually he fell on those young Brajvasi boys' arms. And they were like, Baba, 50 rupiah kuch nahi hai. Means 50 rupees is nothing for you. You are a millionaire. Give us something like that. So that was a very nice scene to actually behold. And finally he gave, and both were happy. Aindra Prabhu was very happy. They were also happy. N, A-I-N. N is Nava Nava Rasa. A newer and newer melody every time. I used to come to Vrindavan at least twice a month in my college days. And every time, whenever I used to come, there was a new melody. There was a new tune. And Aindra Prabhu used to sing it so beautifully. And that was the same thing. He wanted to offer something, some new recipe or some new melody to Krishna as Srimati Radharani. And he used to sing, whatever new melody he used to pick or practice, he used to just sing it for quite few days. Every evening, he will start with something else, but again he will come to the same melody, at least ending with that same melody. My brother, he joined ashram, Kirtan Party ashram. He was telling one melody, the Svraj Vilas part 2, first Kirtan. He sang it for 22 days, every day. Can you imagine 22 days, the same melody? And once a devotee actually said, Aindra Prabhu, you sing same melody every day. Why? He said, because Shyam Sundar likes it. Prabhu, I'll just take 2-3 minutes more. D, Aindra, A-I-N-D. D is demanding. Aindra Prabhu was very, very demanding. When Aindra Prabhu used to sit in Kirtan, he not only gave his 100%, he used to give his 200%. Even if he's very tired, he didn't sleep, he didn't eat, but he used to just give his more than 100% in Kirtan. And he used to demand more than 100% who were sitting around him in the Kirtan. He was, actually A-I-N, from N I just also want to say no nonsense, but I actually erased it because there are so many instances. There's one instance I remember from no nonsense, or you can say demanding it, it's a combination of both. 2008 Radhashtami Kirtan, if you hear the recording nicely, at one point he's so angry, he says, "Chant Hare Krishna or I'll kill you." I know to whom he said, but as soon as he said, actually Kirtan was going, a kind of diluting. It was, drifting away, but everybody's attention because maybe fasting or whatsoever. But as soon as he said, everybody was okay. We have to be serious. They were very, very attentive in the Kirtan. And he used to say that you can't sit in the Kirtan idle and look beautiful. That's what Aindra Prabhu. And nobody could actually think of even joking or, gossiping while Kirtan. Nowadays we do it. That's not actually correct. But Aindra Prabhu never ever liked it. Just okay, once in a while it's okay, looking at each other, smiling, and maybe a little bit joke here and there. But sometimes it happens too much nowadays. But when Aindra Prabhu used to sit, everybody used to be serious, really, really serious about holy name, because his mood was, this is Sankirtan Yagya, the 7 flames, okay, of the Sankirtan movement. And this is the opportunity what we are getting to actually give our offering in this Yagya. So we should be very, very serious about it. Just few days before, one brahmachari, actually I was talking to one devotee in Kirtan, and that brahmachari actually patted on my shoulder and he said, "Why you're talking?" I didn't know him, who he is. I don't know if he was from somewhere. Actually, honestly speaking, my ego was really hurt. But later, within few seconds, I took it as Aindra Prabhu's message, that you're not supposed to talk and gossip in the Kirtan. So, that's Aindra Prabhu. R is right example to be followed. Aindra Prabhu is the most right example which we can follow in our life. Yeah, practically very, very difficult, rather impossible for a conditioned soul like me. Like Rupa Goswami says to Sanatana Goswami, Chaitanya Charitamrita, "Apane acharya kaha na kare prachar, prachara kare na keha na kare achar." That some behave very well but do not preach Krishna consciousness, whereas other preach but do not behave properly. And our Bhuvaneshwar Prabhu, who left to the spiritual world a few months before, he always, whenever he used to give his offering for Aindra Prabhu, he used to say, Aindra Prabhu never only followed 100%, he used to follow 200%. And then he used to say anything on mic. Then he used to say or expect anybody to actually do that or instruct somebody. He never ever did something or said something which he himself is not following. That was Aindra Prabhu. He was same inside and outside. Whatever he never, he was never not a duplicitous or a diplomatic kind of a devotee. And moreover, he was not engaged in preaching or management. So he was a very simpleton, very, very simple. Whatever he had in his heart, he used to always say that. And he used to very strongly request, urge, push, press, even chastise that we should follow celibacy. You should follow celibacy. When I introduced him to my to-be wife, we were about to get married, and you know what? This I have told every year. He said, "Even a dog sees the eyes of bitch as very beautiful." And to my wife, to my to-be wife that time, he said, "Don't let this rascal enjoy you. Take a stick and beat him. Hide somewhere, because you're meant to be enjoyed only by Krishna, nobody else." That was his mood. And he never only just said it. Actually, he was on that plane, that platform. He could see, he could feel, he was there. And sometimes when he used to, from a very innocent heart, he used to say things. Some people could understood, but most of the people could not understand. And that created some misunderstanding about him as well. To me, he said, at that time only, that you and every grihastha is supposed to be like Thakur Bhakti Vinod. Full control of your sense. And one foot here and another foot on the spiritual platform. That's how you should be. And I'll just end it with last nothing was coming to my mind for A, nothing appropriate. And something just few days before, I was in Delhi with my brother. My brother was also very much attached to Aindra Prabhu. We were just discussing this. There's the famous Ekadashi Kirtan of 2010 March. So in that Kirtan, he's taking the alap, and that was really, really heart touching. Every time whenever I hear, and I'm sure everybody whosoever hears it, it really touches your heart. And I said to my brother, so many devotees sing alap. This is not an alap. Spontaneously, my brother, in a joking manner, he said, this is vilap. This is not alap. This is vilap. So, I'm sorry. And Prabhu used to, I'm so sorry. He used to follow Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, and he used to offer his Vilap Kusumanjali through his kirtans and through his lectures. 2008 famous Radhashtami lecture, if you have heard, not 2008, one famous Radhashtami lecture, where actually he broke into tears. And he cried for actually some time. I was there in that class. So we all are very fortunate, and I'm very delighted that just by his blessing I'm in Vrindavan, just his blessing, nothing else, with all of you devotees. So kindly be merciful on us, and let us try to follow his vilap and attain not just his melodies, attain his mood also, because he always said, you can copy my melodies but not my mood. At least try to hope to attain his mood. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, thank you so much. Time is so short, I'm so sorry about that. We'd like to ask Kalindi Mataji, can you please speak something? Actually, I can say that at one time I was collecting interviews for a biography of Aindra Prabhu. I interviewed about 70 devotees, and Kalindi's interview was a real standout. She has beautiful memories. Please share something, even short. We don't have time anyway. Just something you can tell a nice story. But please don't make us wait. Even I can tell you one of your stories. No, but you should say. I don't mind.
Which story should I tell? Which story? My mind is blank. Yeah.
Actually, I'm trying to prepare this offering since 4 months. And Aindra Prabhu personally inspired me throughout many dreams. And it's very hard to say. Actually, Srila Prabhupada wanted 3 things to go on at Krishna Balaram temple. A high standard of deity worship, free prasadam distribution with food for life, and 24 kirtan. And Srila Prabhupada said these 3 things must never stop. So Aindra Prabhu came here in 1986, and what he saw, there was no 24 kirtan. So I heard this story from my dear brother Gopal from Mayapur. So there was some old Dadu, not Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu, there was another Dadu in Krishna Balaram Mandir, who had a dream from Srila Prabhupada, and that Prabhupada in that dream was crying and crying, where is 24-hour kirtan? So Prabhupada was crying and Dadu started crying, and after Dadu rushed to Aindra Prabhu, so it was like Prabhupada somehow wanted to go to tell Aindra Prabhu, so this Dadu went up to Aindra Prabhu that Prabhupada was crying, there is no 24 kirtan, so please you do it. And Aindra Prabhu started crying. So Aindra Prabhu took it very seriously, and so there was a lot of things like Aindra Prabhu has done in his life. So I would just say something like Aindra Prabhu told about the Sankirtan standard, and what he established here is not just a Sankirtan or just like Shuddhanam. It is Vraj Prema Rasamai Nam Sankirtan. That's what I heard from Aindra directly. So it's very hard to get Vraj Prema. Everyone knows like Krishna, but how to attain Vraj Prema? So Aindra Prabhu's main contribution was in this movement to bring out this, that the mood which Srila Prabhupada told in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the commentaries, that the mood of Lord Chaitanya. So Aindra Prabhu, he really actually worked very sincerely. His devotional life, unparalleled devotion, unimaginable things, I have experienced. In 2002, after summer, I met Aindra Prabhu here. Yesterday I talked to Gopal, he was in London, and Gopal asked me to tell some particular meeting which he arranged in Mayapur. In 2004 or 5, I was in Gopal's house. So actually before me, there was my another friend from States came to Aindra Prabhu. I won't mention his name. And he had a lot of things told Aindra. Aindra Prabhu didn't care about anything. He didn't even give a glance to that person. And Aindra Prabhu, then the devotee left the room, and Aindra Prabhu told Gopal, let's see if this guy turns up to Vrindavan. And so I was after that, went inside, and I was mad. Actually, I have joined another temple before meeting Aindra Prabhu, but I was so mad since I heard his Vraj Vilas. So I was about to commit suicide. I was very suicidal. I was going crazy. I wanted to just leave everything. I didn't care about ISKCON movement. I just signed, in Mayapur, he took me very seriously. So much love. And he didn't leave his talk 5 hours, in Gopal's in personal room. And Aindra Prabhu said, no, you're not going to go anywhere. Now I'll take you Vrindavan. You have to come with me right now to damn with all authorities. He was going very heavy in his room. And he said, I'm going to show you where Prabhupada gave actually Vraj Sankirtan, which is fully dedicated to Radharani, That was his mood. And he kept on explaining how Srila Prabhupada gave a real thing. So it's a wonderful thing about Aindra Prabhu here. When he joined the movement, 1973 in Washington, D.C., so there is a very interesting thing about that. Another, about Aindra Prabhu's journey, his very first week, he picked up the Krishna book. He got so deep into meditation while reading the Leelas of Lordship that he had the vision of Krishna and Balaram playing in Nitya Golok Leela. So I was in Aindra's room here in the summer, and Aindra was explaining me this vision. And he put it that way. He loved that so much that he there is a BBT printing, BBT like picture, that Krishna, Balaram, and so many cows, and then Aindra Prabhu put that picture right outside his room, opposite on the wall. So Aindra Prabhu was telling about that vision. He was up, and Aindra told me like he used to go like how much he was attached to this Sankirtan, what Prabhupada gave him. He said that he was doing 15 or 16 hours a day in New York City. On the street, Sankirtan, no lunch. He would go from morning, would come in the night. And it was very extreme. And then he was telling about that when he read Krishna book and he was meditating. So that vision, Aindra Prabhu was running behind Krishna Balaram. He wanted to catch them. He heard the sound of flute. Actually, he saw that Balaram was wearing blue something. And he saw so many cowherd boys. So that Aindra Prabhu said, so that moment, I actually realized that Srila Prabhupada movement is a real movement. So that was Aindra Prabhu. And so here, like, it's very, very, very important thing about the Sankirtan. So that there should be actually quality chanting. So one have to have, the leader, especially the leader of, cannot spread the Nama Parad. This is very, very important. Aindra Prabhu did exactly the same way. He had the Sambandha Gyan, he has the Abhidheya knowledge, he had the Prayojan Tattva. Everything was very, very clear. And that was because of his sincerity of chanting 2 lakhs of name. I was so like stupid. I was thinking what Aindra actually does, you know. So I was whole night up, day up, like checking like what he does. Actually, I just found out he just chants and chants and chants and going crazy. He would catch me, hey, Bhagavad, you know, you have to, let's go, let's stop. He was like not letting sleep anyone, you know. It's very, very difficult. He was doing this nam, and so Aindra Prabhu said in that interview, sorry, that like, if you have no knowledge about Sambandha, so then there is no Shuddhanam. So singer must have, you know, try to get a Shuddhanam. So I had an interview with Aindra Prabhu personally, me, Aindra, and Varun from London. And I recorded it, but I never showed up to anyone. So Aindra Prabhu was saying that if the singers, if the leaders, they don't chant at least 16 rounds, they have no right to even chant Sankirtan. They will spread so much aparat that the old devotees are listening. They will get also contaminated. This is very, very great responsibility of the singers. So I didn't understand that. But now, seriously, like, I actually, for some reason, I was not coming to Sankirtan. For many, many years, was slackening the things. Aindra Prabhu was very upset about it. He coming up to my dreams and telling, at least come for one shift. Come for one shift. I want my man. I want to do kirtan with my man. And I was just ignoring. And he was like, then he came up to my wife in the dream and he said, lock up your gate. Get the hell out of there. Just come to the temple room. So now we're staying next to MVD. And recently, like, Aindra Prabhu was coming, there's another dream to me and Gopal Prabhu. And he's teaching us now how to get quit from this world. So very, very important for us. Aindra Prabhu spent his whole blood. Everyone speaks, oh, Aindra Prabhu done it. But it was not very easy task. I remember it's very hard time. The person who has given up everything, you know, for Srimati Radharani, for Srila Prabhupada. But what society didn't give him respect at all. In 2009, Aindra was crying and putting a chin on my shoulder in the staircase of Brahmacharya Ashram. And he said, I am also Jiva of Srimati Radharani. I also have heart. No one loves me here. So, you know, so there is the only way if we really have love for Aindra Prabhu, really appreciate his service, So we must try to understand what is our relationship with Srimati Radharani and Shyama Sundar. And the same relationship we must have with the Nami. That's what Aindra Prabhu told. Nami and Nam, no difference. So we must have that clear understanding about our relationship with Srimati Radharani and Shyama Sundar. And in that relationship, while we chanting Nam, so we should chant. And Aindra Prabhu standards were very strict. And anyway, he was a very funny personality. I'm not going to go for a very long story, Prabhu, just 1 minute more. And no personal more like incidents, but as I remember that Aindra Prabhu was coming very, very lovingly, Jiva Jago, Mahabhagavatas, Surarya, and each person bunked with very lovingly 3:30. And because he never sleeps, he conquered the sleep. He never slept. There was a story my friend told from Malaysia, Kirtan Kripa, Prabhu, that there was a time when Aindra Prabhu didn't took even a single hour nap in 4 days and 4 nights. And the next day was Govardhan Puja in the Kartik. So Aindra Prabhu was like fully like drowsy, and what to do. So devotees pulled him down. Prabhu, there is Govardhan Puja, and he came down and he just looked at Srimati Radharani, and somehow he's like, okay, I'm Gopi now. And then he was like roaring Kirtan, going like an lion. So most important thing, so how many of you really want to attain Rajaras Prema? How many here? So nobody interested. So if you're really interested, so you must try to come to as much as possible to support 24 Kirtan and support Aindra Prabhu's life and his devotees. And because it's not only Aindra Prabhu, it's Prabhupada. And Aindra Prabhu actually did really well, like out of this world. And there's another story I heard that 2 years ago from His Grace Mukundat Prabhu's wife. The Mataji was explaining that it's very, 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 very sweet that Aindra Prabhu once, and during the old days in 90s, he was, there were bushes and all Vrindavan on Parikrama Marg, only sand Parikrama. I have seen sand Parikrama. I did in 2002. Fully sand and peacocks. But that Aindra Prabhu in middle of night around 11:30, he was hiding behind the bushes. Somewhere, I don't know where on Parikrama, somewhere far. He was chanting, Radhe. Someone was crying very loud out. And only chanting, Radhe, 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 Radhe. So was passed by actually was Danudhar Swami and Bibi Govindamara, someone. And they heard someone is crying and chanting Radhe. And they tried to search for that, and the person was Aindra Prabhu. So anyway, so there is today my only desire that Aindra Prabhu just bless me so I can just come back to, just you as quick as possible and follow the footsteps of Aindra Prabhu's Lotus feet, Ananga Manjari and Shri Radha Shyama Sundar. And I can't bear the separation. Whenever I listen his tunes, in middle of night, I have a habit to just go like midnight 12 and just do something. And then immediately like Aindra Prabhu appears in the dream. Whenever I just try to approach him, he comes. So he's here for everyone. And this is Nitya Golok Vrindavan. Aindra Prabhu is right here. I have seen him in the Kirtan party here. And he's really waiting that devotees come and he will take them back to Krishna, back to Prabhupada. Thank you, Aindra Prabhu. My everything.
Thank you so much, Mahabhagavad Prabhu. So, Kalindi can speak now? Yes. And then I think we may leave it there, and I want to apologize to everybody for anyone that we missed, for any mismanagement on my part. I'm sorry. The feast is scheduled for 3 o'clock, so we're really pushing the time. We want to do Pushpanjali also.
Hare Krishna. What I remember.
When I came first, it was 2005, and I was coming to Kirtan every day, like for 6 months. And then my guru came. I didn't see him for a long time. And when he saw me, he's like, "Oh, what are you doing in Vrindavan? Vrindavan is for renunciants. Like you're a family member, so you should go to Mayapur, but here is..." So I was very sad, like I didn't see him for so long, and he told me like what I'm doing in Vrindavan. And then I don't know how Aindra Prabhu found out about that conversation. And then I never spoke to him, nothing. Like, it was the first time he came after Kirtan, no, when we will finish his Kirtan and come out. And then he stopped me and he said, "I hear what your guru told you, but you should tell your guru like how Srila Prabhupada took so long to come to the West and preach. He took like how many, I don't know how many years. He told me so, like I don't remember exactly. And how if I will chant my rounds here or read or everything, 50% will go to him. So he will be like, she should be happy that I will stay here. So she's like, never leave Vrindavan, don't leave Vrindavan. Is what he told me, like the first time he spoke to me. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we'll conclude with the glorification at this time. And if we would like to invite Mukundada Prabhu to lead us in the Pushpanjali, that will be the next part of the program.
So